I decided to quit drinking alcohol on June 9th of 2025. I have been struggling with alcohol addiction and alcoholism for a long time. And it all kind of came to a head in May of 2025 when I decided to become a life coach. So I joined my life coaching program in May, and I really wanted to know the difference between life coaching and therapy. And so I thought to myself, well, okay, let's get a therapist. Not only will it be good for me to see the differences between what a therapist and a life coach does, but in addition to that, it will allow me to have some sort of outlet to kind of work through things that come up as I go through this coaching program. And for me personally, I have a hard time building strong relationships with other women. And so knowing that I was going into this coaching program with lots of other women, I thought, who knows what could come up for me? And having a therapist who's completely outside of this could be just what I need. So I went through my health insurance to get started with therapy. And as they were doing my intake, they kind of paused and went, so it seems like you have some issues with alcohol and substance abuse. So we're going to put you in that direction. So I got my first appointment with a therapist, but it was about 2 months out due to just, the health insurance network and how that is all flooded with lots of people and understaffed. But my health insurance has this program that runs consistently. It's 8 weeks and it's called Early Intervention. And it's designed for people who maybe want to start drinking less, but aren't ready to completely give up alcohol. And the program for people who did want to completely give up alcohol was 1 year long. And I didn't feel ready to commit to that. So I committed to the 8-week program. And it did not take me 8 weeks to get through. It took me a lot longer. Gosh, I can't even remember how long it took me altogether. But I would say over 2 months. Oh yeah, over 2 months. Nearly 3. Like it probably was somewhere between 12 and 14 weeks that it took me to get it done. And that's because, one, I overbook myself and I have a lot of different things going on. And the program meeting was on a Wednesday night, which is when I have lots of other things going on. So that made it difficult. But there was 1 or 2 times where I was drinking on that Wednesday and you weren't supposed to go to class if you'd been drinking. So that was a reality that I faced, and I wanted to be truthful and honest and not show up when I wasn't supposed to. So throughout that 8-week program that really was like 12 weeks, it actually did only take 4 or 5 weeks of me being in the program to feel that I was ready to stop drinking. And it's pretty interesting actually the way that came about. I wanted to try this drug called naltrexone, which I was told is something that can help you want to drink less. Like if you had a glass of wine, but you're taking naltrexone, the naltrexone essentially makes you not want to continue drinking that glass of wine or have a second glass of wine, which is my problem. Once I start drinking, I don't want to stop drinking. I just want to keep going. It's called binging, right? I'm a binge drinker. And so I was really thinking that naltrexone would be a great way for me to drink less. And I got on the call with the nurse, and he told me that they don't like to prescribe naltrexone to people until they have detoxed. And that he wanted me to detox for a few days and then give him a call back after I had detoxed and let him know how it went and how it's going and if I still wanted the naltrexone. And I'll be honest, this really fucking pissed me off. I was not happy. I was super not happy, and I thought that he was being rude. And I could tell that he was also really concerned about me. The way he spoke to me was like, take care of yourself, Madison. Like, I could tell he really cared. But I was also so mad at him because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to stop drinking. And that day, the thought of having to detox from alcohol felt impossible and it felt so hard. And I'm emotional because it's just like, it's insane to me looking back that I was actually in a place where the thought of not drinking for 3 days so that I could detox like he wanted me to felt so scary and so hard and so like unattainable. And like, no, I'm not doing that. And what ended up happening is he prescribed me 2 other drugs, gabapentin and clonidine. And those were to help with anxiety and like blood pressure and things like that while going through my detox. And I personally didn't think that I needed those drugs because I wasn't drinking so much that I was going to have like detox symptoms. Like I wasn't going to have like delirium tremens or like massive shakes or anything like that. At that point, I was drinking like 3 drinks a day, but it was the shame weighing on me and like the mental space that the thought that I was drinking too much and that I wish I could drink less and that no matter what I tried to do to drink less, I would still end up drinking 3 drinks a day. It was like all the mental work that was going on inside of me all the time, just wasting all of my energy and all of my brain space constantly thinking about like how I should be drinking less. That is what I was so tired of. And so I didn't think that I needed these drugs to detox. And my aunt is a nurse. So I texted my aunt about the drugs and I was like, is this guy crazy? Like, should I even take these? Like, especially clonidine just really weirded me out. And because I have addiction issues, like I know gabapentin's not an opioid, like they wouldn't go prescribing me. Well, I think it's not an opioid. Should I fact check myself? It's probably not. But I was rightfully concerned that I have the tendency to get addicted to things. And so a drug like gabapentin kind of worried me a little bit because I didn't want to take something that I might have the propensity to get addicted to. But my aunt kind of reassured me that the drugs would be fine. They really would help with detox symptoms. And so then she sent me this text where she said, if you want to, we can plan a trip and we can go somewhere on your 1-year sobriety date and to celebrate. And that made my heart drop because I had never seriously considered being sober for 1 year. And I couldn't even respond to the text because it felt too heavy. And it felt like too much. And it felt like I don't know. It felt impossible and it felt like making a promise to myself that I knew I couldn't keep. But I sat with it and I think that was a Friday. And I think that on the Monday morning, I was supposed to go pick up my detox meds from the pharmacy. And so by the time Monday morning came around, I picked up my drugs. I cried in the parking lot because I just couldn't believe that as a 28-year-old woman, this was my life. It's another thing I've struggled with a lot with my alcoholism is that I just feel like I feel so young for it. And that's another reason that I want to put my story out there is because I know I'm not the only one who's struggling with this in their 20s. I know I'm not the only one who wants to get sober before their 30s. And I know that there's not a lot of voices out there for people like us who are young, who are doing the hard work and putting it out there and trying to inspire other young people to make the choices that they feel are best for them. So, yeah. So I had my parking lot cry sesh and then I went home and that was June 9th and I didn't drink alcohol. And it was really, really hard for the first couple weeks, especially. It was very, very difficult. And I forced a lot of people around me to listen to me talk about it because I needed to process out loud. And I told a lot of people around me that it was difficult for me to be around them if they were drinking. And luckily my partner was supportive and, stopped drinking in our home. And that was really great. And, over time, it got easier for me to be around alcohol. And I still haven't processed what led me to relapse, but I did relapse. I had a glass of wine on Halloween, and then the next day I had 2 drinks, and then the day after that I had 5 drinks, and I spent the whole Halloween weekend progressively drinking more and more. And I'm still kind of bummed about it, but this is life. I mean, like, you got to give yourself some grace and cut yourself some slack. And I'm not giving you permission to go and relapse, right? Like, don't take it that way. Like, follow your heart and do what you think you need to do to stay inspired and motivated to make the best, most aligned choices for you. But everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason that this happened. And I'm going to get emotional again, but to be honest, I always knew I would relapse. And it's really hard to define in your mind, like, if you're telling yourself that you know you're going to relapse so that someday when you do, you give yourself permission to, or if there really is some sort of like all-knowing intuition feeling that you have that just knows. But I did know that I was going to relapse. I thought it would be a lot further down the road. In some ways, I'm happy it happened sooner because it really did become my goal to get to 1 year. And the closer and closer I got to 1 year, the harder and harder it got for me to imagine losing a whole year of sobriety. And so, at this point, I lost 4.5 months or so of sobriety. And that sucks too. But I'm glad that it happened because it gives me renewed strength. I drank enough on November 2nd to remember on November 3rd why the fuck I stopped drinking. I had the hangover, I had the shame, I had the regret. These are things that not everyone deals with when they drink. A lot of people don't have feelings like that when they drink, even if they drink a lot. And I always have those feelings now when I drink, which is why drinking is not for me. Drinking does not serve me. And if you're watching this video and if you have similar feelings like that and you haven't quit drinking yet, it's worth looking into. It's worth talking with someone about it. And I personally want to chase a life where I don't feel shame and where I don't feel regret and where I don't feel icky and disgusting and gross and wish that I hadn't done something. I strive to live my life with no regrets or as little as possible because I hate that feeling. I hate the feeling of regret. And that's why I'm also looking at my relapse through a lens that's not regret, but almost like an appreciation. I know that it is making me so much stronger to have to get through this relapse and to restart my sobriety journey. And today is day 3. I stopped looking at what my days were before, but I mean, it had to have been 130 something. I had 120, 130 days of sobriety, and now I have 3. And I'm really proud of those 3 days because I could have kept drinking and I could keep drinking for the rest of my life. And I just know it's not me. And I know that for whatever reason, I am meant to have this struggle. And a lot of us do. And there's so much beauty in knowing that we aren't alone. There's a ton of people out there who can relate and who can lend their strength and who can open our eyes to new things. And there's a new student in my coaching program who I met for the first time this morning. And it just so happens that throughout the course of our 8-minute conversation in our little breakout room on Zoom, that almost immediately the topic of sobriety got up. I made a joke that Las Vegas ruined my life because I had been sober for a few months back in like 2023. I had been sober for a few months, and then I was in Las Vegas and some family drama happened, and I started drinking again, and I couldn't stop for like another year. Like, it took me for a long time. It took me forever to get back to a place where I was ready to stop drinking again. And I happened to just like all of a sudden randomly unload all of this on her. And I was like, I'm sorry. That was a lot about me. And she was like, no, I've been sober for 8 years. I'm on my second sobriety journey. And I wanted to share some really beautiful wisdom she gave me that I wrote down on a little Post-it. But she views sobriety as a marriage of integrity between her and herself. And as someone who's not married and who hasn't really thought about marriage much, I had to go a little deeper on my own and figure out like what marriage really is. And so the definition that I found that resonated with me is that marriage is a union built on love, companionship, and mutual commitment, a spiritual bond. And so I'm deciding to see my new relationship with sobriety that began on November 3rd, 2025. I'm seeing this as a spiritual commitment to myself, a mutual commitment and a companionship to honor. And my relapse over Halloween allowed me to really remember how painful it is for me to not be sober. And some days the pain and the struggle of being sober feels unbearable and feels so hard. But that weekend reminded me that not being sober is a lot worse for me. And I think I needed that reminder. And I think I can go through my new sobriety journey a lot stronger than I was going through it before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a new year in my sobriety. When I make it to 1 year, that 1 year will now happen in November of 2026, which is not something that I had envisioned for myself, but it feels really fitting. From a spiritual aspect, I really do feel that in the last month or so, there's been an old version of me that's been kind of like fighting its way to stick around. And I think that my relapse weekend was a way for me to like give that version of Madison one last hurrah and let her out to play, so to speak. And I had my fun. I remembered what she was like. And then on November 3rd, I remembered that I don't want her around. And the new version of me that's been waiting to be called in arrived. And what's really fun is that I've had an appointment on the books for a long time, that November 3rd was when I was getting a new tattoo that I have been really, really excited about. And so I went and I got my tattoo on November 3rd. And it's a turkey vulture. And turkey vultures represent riding the currents of warmth in your life. So the fact that my new sobriety date is also the date that I got this new tattoo and this new reminder of who I am and who I want to be and how I want to live my life, that's really great. And I'm going to focus on seeing the positives and the bright sides and everything. And I'm going to move forward sober with so much strength and brightness and light and love and gratitude for where I've been and what I've gone through. And if you're thinking of doing something similar, I know that you can. And I'm here for you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you got something useful out of it for your own journey. And if you're not on a sobriety journey, you're not thinking of one, and you just watch this out of curiosity, kudos to you. I appreciate you, and I love you. Stay strong, stay bright.